It started with the sound of laughter coming from the living room, while I carefully arranged the silverware around the Thanksgiving table. The hum of clinking glasses and voices blurred behind me, my family's laughter, loud and cruel in its familiarity. When I looked up, I saw my father pointing his phone toward me, filming as I bent over to fix the napkins. I forced a smile, pretending not to notice. But hours later, when my phone buzzed with a Facebook notification, I did notice. His post read, "Look at this failure. Always knew she'd end up serving others." And underneath, a trail of laughing emojis from my siblings. My stomach turned. It wasn't the first time they'd mocked me publicly, but something about seeing it online, on a holiday I had spent days preparing for, made the humiliation unbearable. When I confronted them, they brushed it off. "Oh, lighten up, Sophie," my sister Lauren said between giggles. "You always take everything so seriously." "Yeah," my brother Ethan chimed in. "It's called humor. You should try it sometime." My father, Robert, barely looked up from his plate of turkey. "You're always looking for reasons to be offended, Soph. I was joking." A joke. That's what they always called it. I stood there, my chest tight, the scent of roasted turkey and apple pie suddenly nauseating. For a moment, I considered staying quiet like I always did, but this time I couldn't. Without another word, I grabbed my purse, walked out of my apartment, and didn't look back. That night, I checked into a hotel a few blocks away. I had never allowed myself such an indulgence before. It felt wasteful, unnecessary, but I needed distance. Distance from the laughter, from their arrogance, from the decades of being treated like the family's disposable caretaker. The next morning, my phone vibrated with a message from Lauren. "Why can't I withdraw $3,000 from your account?" No greeting, no apology, just entitlement. Something inside me cracked. For years, I had been the reliable one. The one they called when bills were overdue or cars broke down or emergencies conveniently arose days before rent was due. My siblings, Lauren, 28, Ethan, 26, and Lily, 21, were raised to believe the world owed them something. I, on the other hand, was raised to believe that I owed them. Our mother had passed when I was 17, leaving me to raise them in everything but name. I made lunches, balanced homework, paid bills, and comforted them through nightmares while my father, an outwardly charming man with a hidden streak of cruelty, spent his nights drinking or playing the victim of life's unfairness. To outsiders, he was generous, charismatic, the kind of man who donated to charity and cracked jokes with strangers. But inside our home, Robert Mason was a puppeteer. He thrived on control, pitting us against each other, measuring affection like currency. When I turned 18, I moved out with nothing but a scholarship and 2 suitcases. I worked full-time through college, eventually landing a job as a financial analyst in Boston. By 31, I had built a quiet, modest life, one I was proud of, one they sneered at. 3 years ago, Lauren had called crying about losing her job and being behind on rent. I, being the eternal fixer, added all 3 siblings as authorized users on my emergency savings account. "Only for true emergencies," I had said, "and you call me first before using it." Back then, I believed in boundaries. They believed in loopholes. The Thanksgiving dinner had been my attempt at reconciliation, a chance to show them the stability and independence I had carved out for myself. I cooked for 3 days, decorated my apartment, and even splurged on a new dining set. I thought foolishly that maybe if they saw how far I'd come, they might finally respect me. Instead, my father mocked my apartment's size. Lauren smirked at my budget furniture. Ethan complained about the boring neighborhood. And Lily, still living with our father at 22, just nodded along, eager for his approval. I should have seen it coming. The video, the laughter, the post, and now this text about my account. I called my bank immediately. The representative's voice was calm, professional. "Ms. Mason, we can certainly review your account history." As she read through the transactions, my heart sank. Small withdrawals, $150 here, $300 there, spanning the last 2 years. They had been hiding the theft in plain sight, taking advantage of my trust. "Would you like to know the total withdrawn by your authorized users in the past 24 months? The representative asked gently. "Yes," I whispered, 21,987. I went numb. That was more than half of everything I'd saved since starting my career. My future home fund, my safety net, my independence. When the call ended, I stared at my laptop screen in disbelief, scrolling through the transactions one by one. The pattern was obvious. Lauren withdrawing in large sums, Ethan in frequent small bursts, and Lily's name sprinkled between them, always following expensive holidays or events. I spent hours compiling evidence, printed bank statements, spreadsheets detailing every unauthorized withdrawal, even the timestamps that matched their social media posts, vacations, concerts, shopping sprees, Lauren's emergency trip to Miami, Ethan's car repairs that somehow coincided with playoff tickets, Lily's college expenses that perfectly aligned with her designer handbag collection, every lie neatly highlighted in red ink. When I finally closed my laptop, the tears came. Not from losing the money, but from realizing how deeply I'd been betrayed. The next morning, I called Lauren first. She answered on the second ring, her voice bright and unbothered. "Hey sis, so about that money." "No," I cut in, my voice steady. "There will be no $3,000. In fact, we need to talk about the $10,236 you've already taken." Silence. "What are you talking about?" She said, the feigned innocence cracking almost instantly. "I have every transaction, Lauren. Dates, amounts, everything. Would you like me to start reading them out loud?" Her tone shifted, sharp and defensive. "That money was for family emergencies." "What emergency was Coachella?" I asked coldly. "Or the $300 charge the same day you posted your new Louis Vuitton bag?" "You're being ridiculous," she snapped. "It's family money. Are you saying we're not family now?" "Family doesn't steal," I said quietly. "It's not stealing if you gave us access," she shouted. "God, Sophie, you're such a control freak with money. You hoard everything while we actually live our lives." I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. "Return it. All of it. I want a written plan by the end of the week." She laughed. "Good luck with that. Wait until Dad hears about this." She hung up. Within minutes, my phone exploded with notifications from a group chat titled Mason Family Matters. I hadn't even known it existed. Lauren, Sophie's on a power trip about the savings account. Ethan, typical, always acting like she's better than us. Lily, can't believe she's counting pennies against her own family. Dad, here we go again. Sophie loves playing the victim. I read every message in silence, the familiar ache of manipulation settling in. They weren't just dismissing me, they were rewriting the story, painting me as the villain. Finally, I typed a single response. "This isn't about control, it's about theft. $22,000 worth of it. I expect repayment." The replies came instantly, a flurry of mockery and deflection. "Dad, you need to calm down." Ethan, she's losing it again. Lauren, we use the money for family needs. Stop being dramatic. Lily, you're sick for turning this into a war. I put the phone down and pressed my palms to my temples. My family had just declared open war on me, and they didn't even realize I was ready for it this time. That night, when my father's number flashed on my screen, I almost didn't answer, but I did. He didn't waste a second. "We need to talk about this tantrum you're throwing." "It's not a tantrum," I said evenly. "It's about accountability." "No one stole from you," he said, his voice calm but sharp. "You're upset about the Facebook video, so now you're lashing out." "This has nothing to do with that," I said, though my voice trembled slightly. He chuckled softly. "You really think anyone's going to believe your version of events after I tell them the truth?" "The truth?" "The truth about your episodes," he said, voice dripping with mock concern. "How you've always been unstable, paranoid about money. I can't protect you from yourself forever." My blood ran cold. He was building a narrative, one that could destroy me. And for the first time in my life, I realized something terrifyingly clear. My family wasn't just toxic, they were dangerous. I sat frozen on my couch, my father's words replaying over and over in my mind. Unstable, paranoid, episodes. The same old script, weaponized to make me doubt myself, to make others doubt me too. But this time, it didn't work. I took a slow, steady breath, then asked the question I already knew would confirm my fear. "What story are you planning to tell, Dad?" He hesitated for a beat too long. "Oh, I don't have to plan anything," he said smoothly. "Just tell people the truth. You've always had control issues with money, Sophie. Everyone's seen it." "That's not true." He chuckled, that same chillingly calm laugh that used to make my stomach twist when I was a kid. Maybe. But I've got messages, screenshots, documents, you name it. Things that show how you manipulate people with your finances. Do you really want your boss or your boyfriend hearing about your behavioral problems? I went silent. He'd never mentioned Jake by name before, which meant they'd been talking about my personal life, watching my social media, maybe even snooping into things I thought were private. You're lying, I said quietly. Check your email, he replied, and the line went dead. With trembling fingers, I opened my inbox. There it was, a new message from my father, subject line, for your records. Inside were 3 attachments. The first was a supposed loan agreement between me and Lauren, complete with a forged signature that looked just close enough to mine to be dangerous. The second was a set of text screenshots, clearly doctored, of me offering money and saying, "Don't worry about paying it back. Family comes first." And the third? The third was a photo of me asleep on my couch, laptop open beside me. It had been taken during one of their visits. My breath caught in my throat. They'd gone through my apartment, my files, my laptop. They had been planning this for months, maybe years, documenting, forging, preparing for the day I might finally fight back. I sat there for a long time, the glow of the laptop screen painting the walls in cold blue light. I wasn't just betrayed, I was violated. When I finally found my voice again, it came out small and shaking. They've been preparing for this, I whispered to no one. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, I went to my bank as soon as it opened. The personal banker, a kind woman named Grace, listened carefully as I explained the situation. The unauthorized withdrawals, the forged documents, the threats. Her expression grew increasingly serious. Unfortunately, this kind of thing happens more often than people realize, she said softly. Family financial abuse is very real. She helped me close my compromised account, open 2 new ones under heightened security, and transfer what funds I still had left. She also helped me set up a safety deposit box for my critical documents, something I should have done years ago. Before I left, Grace handed me a list. Change everything, she said. Emails, banking passwords, even your phone passcode. Assume they've had access. I spent the next several hours doing exactly that, changing passwords, setting up 2-factor authentication, deleting old recovery emails tied to family addresses, even switching banks entirely. By noon, I'd effectively cut them off from every access point they could use, but I wasn't done. They'd tried to take everything from me, my money, my credibility, my peace of mind. I wasn't just going to defend myself. I was going to make sure they could never do this to anyone else again. I started documenting everything. I compiled the forged loan papers, the fabricated screenshots, the bank statements showing unauthorized withdrawals, and even archived copies of my father's Facebook post mocking me at Thanksgiving. I printed every text, every email, and every threat. I labeled folders, organized timelines, and backed everything up onto a secure drive. I wasn't Sophie the servant anymore. I was Sophie the strategist. By afternoon, I had a digital war chest, a record of every cruel, manipulative thing they'd ever done. At around 3:00 p.m., my phone rang again. Unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Sophie, it's Ethan. My pulse spiked. He sounded nervous, not arrogant for once. Look, I know everyone's been saying you're overreacting, but I think you're right about Dad. That caught me off guard. What do you mean? I don't want to talk on the phone, he said quickly. Can we meet? Just us. Tomorrow morning, coffee shop on Charles Street. I hesitated, every instinct screaming trap. But another part of me, the one that still wanted to believe at least one of them had a conscience, agreed. Fine, I said. Tomorrow, 9:00 a.m. That night, I barely slept. I replayed every conversation, every manipulation, every family joke that wasn't funny. I thought about my mother, how she'd once tried to leave my father before she died, how he'd isolated her from friends, convinced everyone she was unstable too. The same playbook, different target. He wasn't just cruel, he was calculated. The next morning, I arrived at the cafe early, scanning every face that walked in. When Ethan appeared, he looked different, tired, anxious. He slid into the booth across from me. Thanks for coming, he said quietly. Talk, I said flatly. He leaned forward. Dad's in deep debt, like really deep. Credit cards, personal loans, even a second mortgage. He's been using other people's names to keep getting credit. Mostly friends, some ex-coworkers. My stomach sank. And mine. He nodded miserably. Yeah, yours too. I didn't know until a few months ago. He showed me how he used your social security number for a car loan. Said it was just temporary. Said you'd never find out. My hands trembled. And you didn't think I deserved to know? Ethan looked ashamed. I didn't know how to tell you. And honestly, I was scared. You know how he gets when someone challenges him. I sat back, heart pounding. My father hadn't just stolen from my savings, he'd stolen my identity. How long? I asked quietly. Almost 2 years, Ethan said. I think he started right after you got your job in Boston. Said you didn't need all that credit if you were saving anyway. I pressed my palms against the table, forcing myself to stay calm. You realize this is fraud, right? Federal level fraud. I know, he whispered. That's why I wanted to warn you. He's panicking because you closed the accounts. He said if you go to the police, he'll destroy you first. He's got fake loan contracts, fake therapy records, and everything. My vision blurred for a moment, fury clouding everything. He wasn't bluffing. My father had created an entire paper trail designed to make me look like the unstable one if I ever dared expose him. I took a slow breath. Ethan, I said finally, you can fix this. He blinked. What? You said you're scared of him. So am I. But if you want out, help me get evidence. Something solid that proves what he's done. He hesitated, then to my surprise nodded. Okay, I'll get what I can. When he left, I sat there alone, the hum of conversation around me fading to a distant buzz. I knew what came next. That evening, I filed a police report for identity theft and unauthorized use of funds. Then I contacted a consumer protection attorney who specialized in financial fraud. Her name was Angela Rivera, and within 15 minutes of explaining, she said something that sent chills down my spine. Sophie, this isn't just theft. This is a long-term criminal scheme. Your father could face serious federal charges. Good. For once, the law was on my side. Angela helped me contact the FTC, freeze my credit across all 3 bureaus, and begin the process of disputing fraudulent accounts. She also advised me to get a restraining order if the threats escalated. By midnight, I had officially declared financial independence from my entire bloodline. I wasn't sure if Ethan would keep his word, but part of me hoped he would. If I could just get one piece of irrefutable evidence, an email, a recording, anything, I could finally end this. And for the first time in my life, as I turned off the lights and looked out over the quiet Boston skyline, I didn't feel like their victim anymore. I felt like their reckoning. The next few days were a blur of paperwork, emails, and calls. Between Angela, my lawyer, and the police detective assigned to my case, I found myself telling and retelling the same story. How my family had stolen from me, lied to me, and then tried to destroy me. Each repetition hurt a little less and sharpened something else inside me. Resolve. Angela was relentless. She filed immediate legal orders to secure my credit reports, subpoenaed my father's financial records, and contacted my company's HR department to ensure he couldn't sabotage my professional reputation. If he's as manipulative as you describe, she said during one call, he's already preparing to play the victim. We'll make sure that doesn't happen. 2 days later, Ethan texted me. I have what you need. Meet me tomorrow. Same cafe. I hesitated. My instincts screamed not to trust him. But if he truly had evidence, it could be the key to everything. The next morning, I arrived at the cafe early again. Ethan walked in 10 minutes later carrying an old flash drive. His face was pale. I found Dad's folder, he said, sliding it across the table. It has everything. Copies of the fake loan documents, screenshots he edited, even audio recordings of him coaching Amanda on what to say if anyone asks about the money. I didn't move to take it right away. Why are you helping me now? Ethan stared down at his coffee. Because he turned on me too. He told Amanda I stole from him. He's unraveling Sophie. When you close those accounts, you cut off his last safety net. He's desperate. I finally reached for the flash drive, holding it tightly like a loaded weapon. You did the right thing, I said quietly. I'm sorry, he murmured. I know. That night, Angela and I went through everything on the drive. There were voice memos, actual recordings of my father bragging to his friends about using Sophie's perfect credit score to open accounts. He even laughed about forging my signature, calling it a family perk. There were spreadsheets tracking my withdrawals, photos of my documents, and messages between him and my siblings discussing how to keep Sophie in line. Each file was another knife in the back, but each one also gave me power. Angela sat back in her chair, eyes wide. Sophie, this isn't just identity theft. It's conspiracy and forgery. We can take this to both state and federal court. He'll go to prison. For the first time in years, I smiled. Good. But revenge, real revenge, required precision. I didn't want to scream online or post family drama for the world to see. I wanted them to destroy themselves in public the same way they'd mocked me. Angela drafted the legal filings and prepared to submit them, but I had one last card to play. That Sunday, the same cafe where Ethan and I had met hosted a community brunch, a small-town networking event that my father's company often sponsored. He would be there, shaking hands, charming people who still believed he was a man of integrity. Angela and the detective would be waiting outside with the warrant once the documents were filed. All I had to do was lure him into exposing himself. I arrived late, dressed in a simple navy suit. My father was near the buffet table, laughing loudly with a group of local business owners. When he saw me, his smile faltered for half a second, then returned, forced but steady. Well, well, he said, spreading his arms as if greeting an old friend. If it isn't my runaway daughter. Dad, I said evenly, we need to talk. He motioned to a nearby table, all performative warmth. Of course, sweetheart. We're family, aren't we? As I sat down, I noticed his phone recording discreetly on the table, always documenting, always twisting. I know what you've been doing, I said calmly. The fake accounts, the loans, the signatures. His smile didn't waver. That's a serious accusation, Sophie. You might want to be careful what you say in public. You should be careful what you do in public, I replied, glancing toward the door where Angela had just entered. He followed my gaze, eyes narrowing. Who's that? My attorney. His hand twitched toward the phone. You're making a mistake. No, I said, leaning closer. You did. When you decided to steal my identity, forge my name, and threaten my career. When you posted that video mocking me. When you made everyone believe I was unstable. He laughed, but it came out brittle. No one's going to believe you. I've got documents, Sophie. Real ones. I know, I said softly. They're all on that flash drive. The one you kept in your home office. You remember, right? His expression froze. For the first time, I saw fear, real fear, flicker in his eyes. I stood. You taught me to play defense my whole life, Dad. You never thought I'd learn offense. At that moment, Angela and the detective stepped forward, badges glinting under the cafe lights. The detective's voice was firm. Robert Mason, you're under investigation for identity theft, fraud, and forgery. We need you to come with us. The entire cafe went silent. Every person who'd once laughed at his jokes now watched as the mask fell from his face. He stood there trembling, trying to regain control. This is insane. She's lying, he shouted, gesturing at me. She's unstable. Angela interrupted coolly. We have audio recordings of you admitting to the crimes. You might want to save your story for court. The officers led him out in handcuffs. The crowd parted, whispers following him like smoke. And me? I just stood there, calm and steady, as years of fear and humiliation washed away. In the weeks that followed, everything unfolded quickly. My father was charged with multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. The investigation uncovered tens of thousands of dollars in additional stolen funds from other victims, including former co-workers and even distant relatives. My siblings tried to claim ignorance, but their text messages and transaction histories told a different story. They weren't prosecuted, but they were publicly shamed, their reputations shattered. As for me, I got my name and my peace back. The court ordered restitution, and my accounts were cleared of fraudulent debt. Angela helped me establish a trust under my own name, completely inaccessible to anyone else. But the real victory wasn't financial. It was standing in my own apartment, the same one they'd mocked, knowing that every inch of it was mine, untouchable, untainted, earned through years of grit. I thought of the last Thanksgiving, the one where I'd been laughed at for serving food to people who didn't deserve it. This year, I spent the holiday alone, with takeout and a glass of wine, watching the city lights glitter through my window. No laughter, no manipulation, no pretending. Just quiet. I raised my glass to the empty room. To the failure, I said softly, who finally stopped serving others and started serving justice. Epilogue. Months later, I received an email from Ethan. Dad took a plea deal. He'll serve time. I'm in therapy now. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but thank you for ending it. You saved all of us. I stared at the message for a long time, then closed my laptop. Forgiveness would come in time, maybe. But not today. Today. I walked to the window,